It is PowerWorks time. Glenn Power from PowerWorks Garage is here in the studio, and we're going to be talking cars and used cars, some problems with cars, what's going on in the garage. Yeah, just generally chatting about cars.
Can't talk new cars. There are no new cars.
Globally, although every now and then I see one, and it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? Or, who's selling those things? So, but it's crazy. In fact, we're going to kick off with that right at the very start here, because you had an opportunity to talk with some folks over at a couple of showrooms. Anecdotally, a lot of anecdotal stuff, so we're not going to put any names to any of this. But this is a global phenomenon. And so, first of all, we've got a problem that we've been talking about forever with chips. And, like everything, our cars are run by computers now. So we've got a chip shortage, which is leading to control units not being able to be populated with the necessary microprocessors. Yep. We've got a delivery shortage of vehicles. So we've got things that are just caught up and they can't get delivered. Because we've got the chip shortage, because we've got delivery shortage, we've got now parts and other things that haven't been able to get delivered to be put onto vehicles. And that means we've had many production lines, and we heard about these a while back, that got closed down, that we don't know if they're back on or not. We've had the tsunami of the perfect storm for the automobile industry, where all of a sudden there's not a lot of new cars out there. No,
it's not good. And boats catching fire.
Oh yeah, there was that whole load of cars that were being shipped. Boat caught fire. Done. That's it. It's over. Yeah. None of those cars are going anywhere.
Yeah,
it's crazy times.
Yeah, it's really bad, and every time you see a story about it, and it'll pique my interest or your interest, and we might chat about it. It's like, oh well, we're over the worst of it.
Yeah, no.
But I don't know. You see, I don't know whether this region suffered more. I can't answer that. But what I can say is that, for example, you take a manufacturer like the Volkswagen Group. They're on a massive, massive push now towards electric vehicles. Yeah. They've got some, let's say, friendly competition or rivalry with Elon Musk at Tesla, and they're trying to as amicably but as emphatically as possible put him in his place.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
They are producing electric vehicles. I can speak of the UAE market, is not a vehicle that they sell here through their official channels, and they do not service, maintain, or repair them.
So my question is, channels. I have seen a couple of these.
I've seen dozens of them. I've seen car transporters full of them.
So who's bringing them in, and who is servicing them? Because they need to be prepped. They need to be put on the road. So someone's still dealing with them. Maybe a different emirate has a different supplier. I don't know.
The source of them is probably the Chinese market or the North American market, I would think. Okay. And they're being brought in and sold at a premium. Yeah. And the thought process, I imagine, is, well, they're brand new. Nothing's going to go wrong with them for a couple of years. And by the time they do go wrong, there'll be something, it'll be something that'll be looked after here. But from what I see at the minute, that wouldn't be something I'd be willing to take the gamble on. And they're not sold here, I imagine, for two reasons. The training isn't to that level yet, and they aren't proven in this climate yet.
Well, that's the big one. And I had a couple of people email me over last week and saying, hey, I've got an opportunity to buy this vehicle. It's coming from, this one vehicle is from the US. And I, they say, oh, it should be okay, right? And I wrote back and I said, is it GCC spec? Because if it is not, run away.
Yeah.
Because all of those vehicles, if Ford brings in a vehicle, if GM brings in a vehicle, anyone brings in a vehicle from the US, that means it is made for North American specifications. They've got, they don't have necessarily enough enough cooling capacity for the oil, for the transmission, the air conditioning units. I remember once years ago, we had a gentleman come in who is the engineer in the UAE who works on the speccing of vehicles for Ford. And he had a list of different things that he would change.
Even down to the glass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, which is the whole reason why I bought, I could buy a Wrangler here, can't take it back to Canada. And they're the same reason, because they're going, well, it's got the wrong glass, it's got the wrong fenders, it's got the wrong signal lights. It's
wrong emissions regulations.
Yeah, wrong. It doesn't have any of the stuff you need. And that vehicle's made in Canada. No, sorry, it doesn't work. So this is a big problem, going right back to the electric vehicles that Volkswagen's got and someone's bringing in. Who knows if they've been spec'd for this environment, and B, who's going to fix it? So on one breath, I'm going, PowerWorks, guys got to get up to snuff on fixing these things, because there's a hole in the market.
Me and DJ are in the process of the certification for electric vehicles, and obviously we can't be brand specific now.
Right.
But the fact is that, as a manufacturer, it would be easy for VW to say, you know what, we've got a couple hundred of these lying around, let's send them over to Al Nabuda or Ali and Sons, because they're not selling any cars because they haven't got any to sell. But they're not, that's such a minuscule amount of money for them.
Yeah.
The VW are going to make a very, very small drop in the ocean in terms of their annual profits by doing that. And they're actually probably going to cause themselves trouble, because the technicians aren't trained, the service advisors aren't trained, the managers and the sales executives are not trained. How then can you risk doing that?
Yeah.
Those cars need testing in this region for a long, long time.
Yeah.
For a long time.
They need heat testing. They need to be here in the summer. They need to be here in the winter. You drive them up on the mountains.
You take an example of the XL1. The VW XL1 that would do, was it something like 300 kilometres on 1 litre of fuel? They could have made that a 3-4 million dirham vehicle, and they would have sold 100 of them here. They didn't. And the reason that they didn't is because it doesn't work in this climate.
Yeah.
It does not work in this climate. You cannot do, I think the piece it was in the newspaper, or it was in one of the motoring magazines, they did the 7 Emirates on a litre of fuel, which is by no stretch any, that is an amazing feat. But they have to bring their own diesel in for it.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it in August or July.
Yeah.
They did it when the climate was fair. So it's not worth that risk. You cannot risk your reputation of your brand by putting out a subpar product. Now, when you go back to something we talked about before with Ford was selling some of their vehicles and incomplete, giving people $2,000 or so back, wasn't it? And then offering them a free retrofit when the parts become available.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different. We're talking about more utilitarian vehicles. You can't go and do that with a very high-end electric vehicle from somebody like VW, it's not being sold as a utilitarian car, it's being sold as a luxury family vehicle.
I saw one the other day. It was at night, and I went, oh, man, I would own one of these in a heartbeat. The lighting is what sold it on me. So the VW badge, front and back, are lit up, and the lines go through the lights. Yeah. So it's just, I always went, wow, it looks nice. It legitimately looks really nice, and they've just played with some elements. And I thought, wow.
Yeah. I mean, look, the anecdotal stories we mentioned at the top of this was that I was in the showroom, and I was actually looking over a car for a friend of mine. Now, I was looking over a car from the showroom because the showroom were unable to certify it. The reason they were selling it out of the showroom was because they had space and they needed to fill it.
So they're just putting cars in there so that people drive by, look in the window. Lots of cars in there.
Taking it in as a trade-in. It was relatively clean. It was a very good-looking car. But it was too old and gone too far for them to be able to sell it as a used car. There was not enough money in it for them. It would have cost them 5,000 to 10,000 dirhams internally to put it up to standard to then sell it with a warranty. And
that's
then
a lot of money.
They're not going to be able to then sell the car. But they're able to sell it and make a few thousand dirhams and keep the sales executives paid. So that's great.
But they've got no cars.
There's nothing. The showroom had like 10 GTIs in it. And I was
so how do you keep a business? I mean, you obviously talk to the sales guys.
Yeah.
How do they keep a business functioning if you've got no new product? Like, we should be selling the 2023 models right now.
Yeah, I mean, with respect, I was speaking to the sales guy, and we said we won't say names. He's a really good guy. with respect to him, he didn't really know or understand how he was still employed.
Right.
He was quite open to that, and he said, "I don't get it. You know, we've had, this is 2 years of this now. We've had nothing." He said we originally had no work because we couldn't come in, and then they eased that up, but then customers wouldn't come in, and then, we've sold all the cars online. Now there's nothing left to sell, and we're not getting deliveries. And they'd had the delivery scheduled in for May. They were then, I think he'd said like the day before I went in there, they'd had an interdepartmental meeting and stopped taking orders. These cars are not coming. Refund orders. They're not coming in. And the next order is October, but that's indefinitely on hold. So what do you do?
This is hard because you're seeing the promotions for these vehicles globally, and if we're not getting them, and that, you know, this highlights that we are really a small market. But if we're not getting them, that means some of these vehicles aren't being distributed globally as well, or reduced numbers. No one's getting them.
No.
So you run into two problems. First of all, you're trying to sell stuff. You're going to either get stuff that is dated, and no one wants a dated vehicle. I mean, why don't you? But people don't. And then on the second side is if you can suddenly start to get them, people have had to let go sales staff. They've had to let go service staff. You don't have the infrastructure any longer to carry on selling vehicles like you used to.
Yeah, one of the bigger problems that I see being from that side of the business is that how do you keep feeding your service department? Yeah.
Well, you had some more anecdotal conversations about even the leasing vehicles.
Well, there isn't any.
Yeah.
So
how is Hertz and other guys making rentals happen? Or
this is why the rentals are expensive, right?
Right.
This is why it's so expensive to rent a car. Yeah. And there's no, I mean, it's no joke. Like, there aren't any vehicles, and the vehicles that are on lease have got to come off soon because they get into their age limit or the mileage limit.
So what happens to someone who's leased a GTI and now they got to hand it in, and they're going, okay, I'm ready to get the next one. And they're going, sorry.
I know.
Maybe just keep this one.
This is a massive issue that's now. Take something from JLR, so Jaguar Land Rover, this is a huge market for them. We're a small market population-wise, but I would think, and I can remember we looked these figures up a while ago, in terms of their global unit sales, this will be a massive, massive percentage because Land Rovers
everyone loves a Land Rover
make more sense here than they do in the UK, than they do in a lot of places around the world.
Look, you can drive it on the road, you can look great, and you can take that thing off-road, and you can look great.
So they do sell a lot here, so I would imagine there's less of a thought process from JLR to be like, well, if we're going to lose a market for a while, we'll lose the Middle East, because the Middle East is a huge market for their vehicles. It's probably kept them going over the last 20 years.
I actually saw a Land Rover being tested yesterday. It had all of the camouflage on it, but it was clear. I mean, they were trying to disguise pieces of it, but no, it's clearly a Jaguar Land Rover. And man, was he giving her around a turning circle. I mean, I was just like, whoa, that is very impressive what he was doing. And so clearly he was doing something. And, you know, I thought, well, try and keep up with him. It's like, yeah, it's not going to happen in the Wrangler. Not my old Wrangler.
You go on the sand, you never know. But So the times are not, you know, it doesn't look good. Everyone keeps thinking we're going to get over it, but we don't seem to be. And service departments, in the UK, March and September are the new registration. So you don't have a number plate in the UK. The number plate is just, they're new every March and every, and they're sequential.
All right.
So if your vehicle is for example, if your vehicle, let's say your vehicle is a 2008.
So hold on a second. Every year you get a new plate? No.
You don't.
No, but
the vehicles that are sold have a new plate on.
Okay, yeah, got it.
So if you have a 2008 vehicle, for example, the number plate will end in, it'll be 4 digits, then 3 digits. The end of the first 4 digits will be a 08.
Okay.
Or if it's, and then that's for the March, and then in the September it will be a 58.
Okay.
And then that kept going, and then into the 60s, and now the 70s.
Yeah.
So like a 2022 one, there would have been, I think it was 72. So whatever it, you know, and then it goes on, whatever it may be. Now, March and September they were sold, 1st of March, 1st of September, but we would be prepping them from January, and then likewise for the September from July. Our August and our February months in the workshop, the diaries were blocked out. You cannot take as much retail work in.
Right.
And we had a rota for Saturdays. We'd have Saturday, Sundays off. You'd have a rota, but you couldn't. Everyone had to work on it.
And now?
But now...
There's nothing.
The workshop that me and DJ worked in when it was VW, we were a small independent. I think like 10... At one point there was about 12 dealerships owned by the same family, but they got swallowed up by a bigger player. And the VW dealership that we worked in, 12 work bays. It was a big one.
That's big, yeah.
Purpose built back in the time. Used to be VW, Audi and Porsche all together. Is now the group prep centre for all marques and all brands. And one of our guys that we used to work with still works there. And he sent me pictures of the place.
It's empty.
It's empty. You know, last month was March, and he's literally in the workshop on his own with a car to do. That's not, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, people are a bit more conscious about spending money on cars and getting into debt with a car because they're not so sure on the job these days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even though that might
or
be turning
buy
a
car, and unless it's got everything included in it, you know, even now buying a used car, we'll talk used in a second, but even buying a used car, you got to be thinking, I'm going to have to get that thing repaired, not knowing what my job longevity is, not knowing what's going to be happening. Am I going to be able to afford this thing?
Yeah.
Because housing prices are skyrocketing everywhere. It's like, this is crazy days.
Yeah. So you've got the double whammy of that. But even though people might be coming out of it, you know, here we've seen pilots from the big airliners here that weren't paid have now started to be back paid, and things are picking up for those guys, and that's kind of a good indicator for the economy here.
Yeah.
How the pilots are doing is kind of how we're going to do.
They're going to buy new cars
because they're buying cars.
Yeah, if they can.
They're
find
bringing
one.
tourists in.
Yeah,
tourists are spending money.
Oh yeah.
You know, this is a good indicator for us, but you can't buy a car now. So then used car prices go through the roof.
I was reading anecdotally. I mean, we've heard it anecdotally, but you know, we've got you had the story of someone who couldn't take delivery of their car. The guys at the showroom are ecstatic because now they've added 30,000 dirhams to the price.
Yeah, so
and they're selling it.
A really good friend of mine that had come back for his old job that he'd lost during the lockdown, and they'd asked him to come back, and he was, I don't know. Thankfully, he came back, and thankfully, as part of that, he had to have a medical, and thankfully, they found something and seemed to have managed to nip it in the bud. But because he's still waiting for the all clear, he'd ordered a car, and it was supposed to come next month, actually, and it came a little bit early. And they called to say, you can come and take delivery whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
And he just mentioned, look, I need a few weeks to know for sure that I'm staying on the ground here, and I'd probably be silly to take this car on. Now, in hindsight, it wouldn't have been. He'd have been much better off taking it on, and then if he had to sell it, he wouldn't have lost a single dirham on it. He'd have gained. But he's not in that game, and if he gets bad news, he's going. He doesn't care about some money. But they were over the moon. You know, the phone conversation, oh, yes, sir, no, don't worry, we'll get your deposit back to you.
They're running. The guys, they're running with that deposit.
Well, they can sell that car now. They've got a car to put in the showroom to sell.
Yeah, and we can auction it. We can go to the highest bidder. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, I've got the same thing happening with people who've bought cars. They're taking them back. They're a year old. They're still within warranty. They're taking them back to the dealer, or the dealer's talking to them saying, hey, you know what? We want to buy your car back off you because we can sell it for more than you bought it for. So people are making money selling it back to the dealer, and the dealer's now making more money because they can sell it on, and it's used.
We have an XF in our garage at the minute in Al-Quoz, and he bought the car a year and a bit ago for 46,000, and he had a loan on it for the whole amount. And with an early payment fee and all the interest and everything calculated, he still owes 37. The engine's failed on it.
Yikes.
Bad driving because he overheated and he just kept going, but that's another conversation. But the engine's failed on it. We can find two solutions for that. We repair the existing engine, which is phenomenally expensive, or he can go for a second-hand engine, swap it over, and that. If he puts a second-hand engine in it, the car he can now sell for 60. so he can get the engine paid for, sell the car, clear his debt, and pay my bill, and start again.
Yeah.
And people that are on, so in the UK we call it PCP, which is basically you pay a monthly fee for a vehicle for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and at the end of that term you have a lump sum called a balloon payment.
Right.
So if you pay £1,000 a month, the end of the term, whatever it was, an agreed term, there's £20,000 left. You either pay it or you give them the car back. They'll sell it as a used car and they'll give you another one and you keep it going. All of those cars that were sold a year, 18 months ago, that are coming towards the end of their term are all, even 3 years ago, are all now in positive equity. So you have a £30,000 car that you've paid for all this time. You've got a balloon payment of 5k, but the car's worth 4, 5, 6 more than that. So you're actually getting money to give them the car back.
You know, there was the time you buy a new car, you've instantly lost 30% of the value of the car. That's no longer.
No, we're in strange times. You drive out the showroom and you don't lose a 30%.
You're making money.
Gaining. Yeah.
I've got a friend who's got a Porsche Boxster. And the day she sells it, she's going to make a mint because not only, so it's a few years old, but she only drives.
Barely uses it.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years old and it's got less than 20,000 kilometers on it.
Parked inside.
Yeah. Cleaned 3 times or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Maintained. All the maintenance is done. It's never used. Yeah. It looks brand new. She's laughing. Like they're going to be knocking on her door. So we'll take that vehicle off you.
Yeah. Look, showrooms are doing that. If you've bought a car recently from a showroom, whether you're in this country or any other country, if it was a desirable model with a reasonable spec, go and ask them what they'll give you for it.
So here's the thing, and this is kind of a phenomenon of the United Arab Emirates. So in many other parts of the world, when you're a car dealer, the manufacturer gives you the cars, or there's you pay something, and then when you sell the cars, you pay the rest. Here, and there's a variety of different ways that formula works.
Yep.
But here, the people who are selling the cars, they buy them outright. So the franchise, the dealer, buys the car outright, and then they sell them on. So they've already made that huge investment. There was a time, and I still think this has still got to be the case, where there must be some cars that are a couple years old that they would just have in storage out in those fields. There's got to be still fields full of 2-year-old cars that weren't sold, that haven't, they don't know what to do with them, or they're thinking now they're too old. Who's going to buy them?
I would guess that those sort of things have been sold into the trade. The trade will swallow those up. Used car trade. I mean,
because they wouldn't have been used, right? Like some of these cars.
Yeah.
Like I'm selfishly just thinking of the Jeep boys, thinking you've got to have
an old Wrangler
sitting there that it's covered in sand, and now you're thinking it's 4 years old. Who's going to buy this thing? Hello.
I'll have it. Yeah. I mean, there's probably a few left over still. One thing that you do see is every other new car on the road at the minute is Chinese.
Oh man, like there doesn't seem to be any shortage of Chinese. There's a new one. I can't remember that. It's GZO something. I'll take a look, because I'm driving by. I almost got into a collision. I drive slow, so you can only imagine for me to get into a collision. I could literally get out of the car, take a photo, get back in. That's how slow I drive. And I'm driving by the billboard for this new set of Chinese cars that I have not seen any in the flesh, but big monster sign. And I had to take like a third look because I thought they were Lincolns.
Yeah.
They're not, but the grill looks like a Lincoln, and it's a beautiful looking grill. So it's not a Lincoln grill, but it has this decal or symbol on it that just reminded me of a Lincoln. I thought, wow, they're pretty.
I think I saw a similar one. I think it's on Hesse Street.
Yeah. So pretty nice looking. And some of these Chinese cars that are coming out, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of them don't, but I mean, they're obviously being made for a market where. Well, here's another one that came in. So to finish that sentence, their cars are being made for a market that wants them to look a certain way. Yesterday, Chinese car behind me, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and of course he's like right on my bumper because I drive so slow, and I'm looking and I'm going. I literally had to kind of veer over in the lane a little bit, like I was on my phone.
Try and get a decent view of it.
Yeah, so I'm looking, and and I'm even driving, and I almost wanted to say to the wife, "You hold the steering wheel, would you?" So I could turn around and get a good look. That wouldn't have gone over well, but I was so tempted, and I'm going. So I see the grill, I see everything. I'm going, no, that's a Chinese car, clearly, but I'm going. That car looks so familiar. And I'm going, no, So it's a Chinese car, but where have I seen that car before? And where I'd seen that car before was a 2005 Jimmy, GM. That's what because remember they got kind of small.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, and it was even the same fender shape, and
they were there's been some high profile plagiarism cases.
I'm thinking they just bought the dies 2005. They just shipped the dies over there, and maybe they were even making them there to start with, because it just looked like that's what it looked like, a trailblazer. It looked like a Jimmy or a Blazer from 2005, 2006. I'm just going, wow.
I think that they make sense certainly for businesses, certainly for families newly arriving to the shows. I think they make sense because they're doing decent lease rates. They're doing, and like we say, they're obviously is stock.
Well, no one's buying them in China, so they're just shipping them all here. Well, and this is another piece of that puzzle. Shanghai's not shipping anything right now.
No.
It hasn't been shipping anything for weeks.
Yeah. Well, John's having a big problem with that, John Ellis.
Yeah, and so a lot of these cars that are coming from China are coming through Shanghai. That's the main shipping hub. We got problems. We got big problems. But some of these Chinese cars are looking great. So actually, we had a request, and it is going to be in September. I'm forward announcing. After this is what a plus.
This is a problem. We're committing something.
But no, we're going to do this because I've had multiple people approach me saying, "Hey, look, I love your podcast. Can you?" And they're saying, "Can you though add this to it?" So no, keep doing what you're doing. But would you add in a segment that's not just they go on Supercar Blondie's doing Supercar Blondie. We don't need to know more about supercars because we're never going to own one. But can you do more talk about the cars we can actually own and we could actually get? And the veiled request was talk more about some of these Chinese cars. Can you just go out and look at them so we don't have to go out and look at them? And I said, you know what? We're gonna add that segment. We're gonna add not just a segment. We're gonna add a whole show that is just giving the real man's review of some of these vehicles. And if that means we have to go and sit in the showroom for it's not GMC, GAC, the GAC.
JMC.
Yeah, there's JMC
Geely,
and there's GAC and there's
Honky.
Yeah,
they're all here now. They've all got nice showrooms everywhere. MG, they class as a Chinese car now.
So we're literally gonna start doing shows where we go sit in the showrooms, and if they'll give us the cars to drive, even better. But we're gonna talk about them and have a look under the hood and sit in them and just have a little bit of a chat and review.
It is strange though that all the shipping, steel, everything all comes from China.
Yeah.
A lot of the components that we can't find for vehicles now all come from China.
Yeah.
But we seem to be able to get Chinese cars. It's strange,
Isn't it interesting?
That's strange. That's some clever economics.
You see,
there.
they figured it out. It's like we're fast tracking our car distribution.
Hey, look, I tell you something, right? You say what you want. There's obviously all these conspiracy theories, true, far-fetched, whatever you want to say. Yeah. I don't really particularly care. The fact of the matter is, you should be able to make and support yourself. Yeah. And if you can't buy a new iPhone because they can't make them because they make them in China and that city's on lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, speak to the guys at Apple and say, why aren't you making these chips yourself?
Hey, we record this show. We record of course we do the audio on the road, but we record the video off of a couple of Huawei phones.
Yeah.
And the chips are there. They do the job. Yeah. As you're seeing, they do the job. So
yeah, well, the lens on this one's a little bit off. It's making me look tired and beleaguered. But say what you want. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, like I say, John Ellis, who's a really, really good friend of mine, and you know him well as well. Yeah. They're
Amber Radio, by the way, if you're looking for one of the best online radio stations you're going to find that's playing the tunes that you really want to listen to, Amber. Go Google
literally
it.
Every genre you can imagine.
Yeah, he mixes them all up. It's true variety radio. Yeah. So if you want a little Foo Fighter-esque kind of tunage, you're going to get it, but then it's going to be paired with a little bit of Anne Murray. So
I don't know about Anne Murray.
And then he's going to follow that up with Creedence Clearwater Revival And then you're going to get some Bieber.
I'm going to have to take notes of this.
You're going to get some Bieber in there.
Bieber
and then boom, you're going to have ABBA. And it's like, you're going to be going, what am I listening to? And then next thing you know, you're going to be telling everyone about it. Saying, Amber Radio, you got to listen to this.
Yeah. We have it on, not now because it's Ramadan, but we have it on in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But he's struggling with his main job, his actual company, because a lot of their stuff comes out of China.
And he's a theme park guy.
So they're building rides, they're putting steelwork for frames together.
Yeah, he was doing a big wheel somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
In the UK,
they can't ship it.
Yeah.
So when you talk about a tranche of money and breaking it down and dividing it up, when that money's held by a legal law firm, they're saying, well, why are we going to divide this money up to anybody when we can't even get the parts to start building this yet? You know, so it's one thing after another, and what can you do?
You know what I saw today driving in? I had to take another look at it. It's the theme of this whole show is James taking another look. A Genesis was driving by, but the Genesis 4-wheel drive thing.
GV70.
It was an 80. It was an 80.
Okay, they're nice. Those back lights are nice.
So the only thing, the back lights are nice, but they were misaligned on one side.
Oh well, that's not. I can't speak to that.
So, but no, it did. The light system was very retro yet modern. And I thought, wow, it just looked nice. And then, of course, the guy hit the brake lights because I was, tailgating, and he was trying to get me off his tail. And that's when I noticed, hold on, one side's misaligned a little bit. So it's like, okay, well, that's weird. But the whole vehicle, then I had to pass him because I hadn't seen the thing from the front. But from the back, I was looking at it, I was going, okay, what does this vehicle look like? Because it literally touched me I wouldn't mind driving one of these from the back side of it. And I went, okay. It's got a little Tesla-esque look to it with the little wing that comes up off the back. Yeah. But it's got a much larger back window, so it was kind of nice. And it kind of has a little bit of that BMW X7-ish look to it. A little, but not really, because it's not, and especially not the Mercedes. It's just that big round thing. So it's got a little taste of it, and then you get around the front. It's just got this big angry grill, and I mean angry in a positive way. And you know what? And I instantly knew you would hate this car.
Yeah. The 80 is way different to the 70. I'm just looking them both up now.
The 80.
The 80.
Look at that grill.
Yeah, the 80 is awful.
This, you don't like about the 80 is all that chrome accenting.
I don't like anything about the front of that.
I know. I like the front.
No,
I thought it was nice.
That chrome's ridiculous.
That's what got me. I'm driving by and I'm just going, look at the chrome highlighting.
Don't even need lights. You just have, if you get one spotlight facing the grill,
kaboom, you're done.
Blind everybody.
I liked it. It made me say, I got to go by the Hyundai showroom.
The 70 is nice, though. I do like the look of the 70. That was one. And actually, that was this morning when I saw it.
Oh, you saw the 70? I saw the 80.
Yeah.
So we're both talking about this, the Genesis.
Genesis,
sorry.
yeah.
Galaxy. I'm thinking, why am I thinking Guardians of the... I'm just thinking chocolate bar right now.
It's a strange one, though, that, right? Because now it was Hyundai made a Genesis.
Yeah, they did.
They've become their own brand.
Yeah. Well, because the same kind of thing, that Kia deals with. And, Kia can sell the Stinger. It's beautiful. And Brown Car Guy and Imtisham both came out. And if you're not watching Shahzad's Sake stuff, did you notice he tied up with blonde car girl in the UK? So there's,
okay.
Not.
I've not seen much of his stuff this last month. Just been...
You've been busy.
Mental, but yeah.
But they both, so going back to the Stinger by Kia, this vehicle, twin turbo, a 4 or 5 series vehicle from BMW or Mercedes, I think it's 4 that it's sort of lined up with. They said phenomenal, and value for money, phenomenal. But everyone who got into that car went, it's a Kia though.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what Hyundai had to do with the Genesis. Is they morphed it into its own brand, so that you kind of going, oh yeah, Genesis, what is that? Yeah, it's Korean. Oh yeah, okay, but it's not Hyundai. And
yeah,
so
it gets rid of the badge issue, I suppose.
And because I just think people are just too caught up in brand recognition and saying, but it's a Hyundai.
I suppose especially for
when we talked about the Palisade, you didn't like it, so
no. I mean, for Europeans, a car is usually the biggest investment, especially these days, that you might ever make, because a lot of people are just resigned to the fact that you can't afford to buy a house. So forget it.
Got to buy a car. So and now no one's buying cars.
The car's either the most or the second biggest investment you ever make. So you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to buy what you like, and if that is a purely how can you say this, shallow opinion of I don't like it, it's the wrong colour, or I don't like the look of it, then so be it. If you're not buying a car just to...
Well, that's what I love about our reviews, because there's always half a dozen things you love that I don't love, and then there'll be half a dozen things, usually starting with chrome, high accents and highlighting, that I love, and you're going, I would never drive that thing in my life. And I always think when it comes to car reviews, you get a nice balanced review because we're both looking at completely different things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to the smaller European, easy to park, cheap on fuel. And you've got the North American, it needs to be like I'm sat on my sofa at home in the front, and, I need to be able to get like 14 goats in the back, and even though I've never transported any kind of livestock.
I live in the city, but I need to have an F-150. Extended cab, please.
Yeah. I mean, there are people like that in the UK, but, they're usually selling things. The car reviews are always fun. Yeah. I have a totally unqualified opinion.
Yeah, me too.
Most people do that buying cars. Most people that are buying cars are not Jeremy Clarkson.
No,
most people buying cars are just the average Joe. And
that's why we're legitimately gonna do this. So I mean, I'm not gonna give the start date, but let's just say it's the first week of September. We're gonna roll the first one of these off the podcast line, and if that means we're just gonna go sit in a showroom and set up some cameras and try not to get kicked out, and if we get kicked out, we'll just do it from the window outside and have a chat and find people driving it and say, what do you think? We'll do it. It's going to be fun. And I just think people want to hear that stuff. And they're curious.
The opposite for what you do for a living guy with the supercars. We'll just stop them. Yeah. Where did it all go wrong for you? No, we'll stop them and say, how is it driving this car?
Hate this car. Yeah. And I often think I've had people like that at Satellites around. What do you think of this thing? Oh, I love it. I love it. And it's you get a nice look at things.
Yeah, look, people that buy them from my limited sort of feedback that you see on community Facebook groups and speaking to customers here and there and people that have driven them tend to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Hey, yesterday I was walking the dog, and there was a guy who's got this phenomenal camping utility trailer that is just loaded with stuff, and he pulls it with a Pajero. And he was out there polishing the front headlights on the Pajero. And I tried not to laugh because all I kept thinking of was, Colin. And
Colin's at home doing that right now.
Yeah, because Colin would like to say, no, I never drive one of those. But I know that he really does park the Armada somewhere and go and he does drive one of those around, because I'm sure. But this guy the tender loving care he was given to that car was just, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what car it is. There's always going to be people who don't like them. But if it's your car and you love it, you love it.
And respect.
Yeah.
More power to you. If you can own a Pajero and love it,
yeah,
no difference owning any car and loving it. That's you, and that's how it is, and that's great. No problem at all. And like I say, in terms of reviewing a car, that's a good example, because I would struggle to find a positive. Yeah, I would struggle to find a positive.
I don't want to own one either, like, honestly. But that being said, when we're talking about there's not a lot of new cars coming out, I've seen a few that look brand spanking new. So I don't know if Al Hope Tour's got
the signature edition ones.
Yeah, they look
the black accents and stuff. To be fair, actually, in fairness, the Montero Sport ones look all right.
Yeah,
the Montero doesn't look bad in the signature edition with the black wheels, the black trims, and they do look okay. So, again, I owned one.
Yeah,
and I owned one.
Did you like it?
No. I had to own it because I knew it was not going to let me down, and I had no money.
Well, there you go.
It was 5,000 dirhams, and I had a bit of work to do on it, but I was going to be okay while I was setting the business up.
There you go.
And Amy could always have a car that she was never going to call me and say there's a problem with.
See, that's the thing you need.
So you've got to put your hands up to it and say, that's a genuine, massive point when it comes to buying a car. Well, they're reliable, so what are you complaining about? It's getting me to work, because some people don't care.
No,
I don't. I'm sometimes to Amy's chagrin, but I don't. I'll get dressed and go out the house. I don't care what I look like, as long as I'm not exposing myself and I'm perfectly functional in my clothes. I am what I am, as they might say. But some people have the same opinion of a car, and to a certain extent, I do. Yeah. But it's nice to have some form of aspiration, I think, with something that's plays such a massive part, especially in my life, when that's literally what I do all day, every day.
Yeah. So speaking of cars, what's hot in the shop right now? What's coming in?
Everything's hot. It's horrible. Everything's hot. Obviously, the usual stuff: ACs and coolant leaks and overheating and stuff. But so a lot of batteries.
The big three.
Yeah, the temperatures have gone up and batteries are dying a death. And
man,
these sort of things.
I'm battery okay for another. Hold on, I got the calendar out. I'm good for another 11 months.
Well, there you go.
Got 11 months before one of them fails.
But we've got.
Coolant, I got to say coolant. Again, just people to remember, check your coolant and get coolant. Don't do the water thing. And there's no manufacturer sells you a car with water in the rad.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from VW days that we used the concentrated coolant and we were supposed to fill, so mix that with distilled water.
Right.
Not water out the tap.
Yeah.
And it's just better on all the aluminium components in the engine, oil coolers in particular. Obviously, if you're stuck and you're at home and you check the level and it's a little bit low and you're unsure or the light's on, then if you're topping it up with tap water, that's okay. But you want to go and check, first of all, make sure there's no leak. But second of all, just make sure the concentration of coolant is okay. And it's not obviously to help us deal with the water or coolant freezing here. It isn't, but in lots of parts of the world it is. But it's also to do with the condition of the metal components that it's going through, seals, rubber hoses. You remember, this stuff goes through aluminium, steel, rubber, nylon, plastic.
Yeah.
So it has to be right.
Yeah. So, do that check.
Yeah.
ACs, this is, it's too late for a lot of people. I'm sorry. You missed the window of getting a better price.
Yeah. Our gas is so for us to buy gas in bulk, the refrigerant gas, it's double the price it was a month ago.
There you go. So you've missed that window, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But if you need to get your AC fixed, and I see those people on the road because there's no reason they've got the window open.
Yeah, it's like 38 and the windows are down.
I mean, I got no windows.
And you're in traffic.
Well, I got no windows in the Jeep. It was 43 the other day.
Nice.
I was going, great, because I'm going for 50. I'm going for 50 this year. I made it to 49 last year.
The weather let you down.
The weather let me down. So I'm going for 50 this year. So when it's 43, I'm going, hey, this is good. I'm going to hit the mark really early.
Yeah, 50 in May. Look, I mean, we've said it time and time again that there's seasonal work.
Yeah.
And it tends to be breakdown maintenance that we get. So people will say, "Oh, that's not working very well," or that's let me down. And Saturday it's like 8:30, and I get a phone call 8:30 in the evening, and the guy owns an old Land Rover Discovery, and I know exactly what he's about to tell me. I can see he's not ringing at this time of night for anything other than he's broken down.
Well, he's not inviting you to a barbecue?
No,
I got a few extra steaks. Why don't you just
definitely broken down, and he's definitely got a coolant leak or overheated. Yeah. Definitely. I know that as soon as I see it. I know it. Yeah. And that's what had happened. He had a coolant leak and overheated, and it'll happen to all of us. We've all have been in that situation. And unfortunately, it tends to be at the least opportune moment.
Yeah, always.
At least, you can't predict it. All you can try and do is make sure that things like having the right coolant level will not stop you ever having a coolant leak, but it will reduce the frequency of those things. And just the operation of checking it is such a good practice to get into.
Yeah. And look, if you're checking your coolant, you notice, hey, it's always been at level. There's a little bit of, it's going down a little bit. Okay, well, that's probably fine. And then you suddenly notice, whoa, it's empty. It's like, hold on a second.
If you get under there and check, and you're checking regularly, and after a week's gone by since you last checked it, it's empty, there's a leak.
Yeah.
That's nothing short of a leak. Now, doesn't mean to say, you have to remember this stuff's, it's at 102, 3, 4 degrees in the cooling system. It's under pressure, that's why it doesn't boil. But when it leaks out, it's hot.
Yeah.
So it's anywhere from sort of 60 after it's been through the radiator to up to 100 if it's right on the side of the engine. If it's leaking out down the front of the radiator, it's evaporating before it hits the floor.
Yeah. But if it's that green stuff, at least you tend to see some green residue.
The trail, yeah. So depending if you've got the coloured coolant, it will leave you a trail. But you might not always notice. You might think, well, there's no leak because I can't see anything under the car.
Yeah.
That's not going to tell you anything. So getting it checked. Now, if you're checking it every week and it's, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's a little bit like between the maximum and the minimum. That's okay. The temperature will affect it.
Yeah.
There is a pressure relief cap on any system, whether that's on the radiator or whether it's on the expansion tank, and they are designed to relieve pressure. So if you've been sat in traffic for a long time, the car's been doing hard work, temperature might get a little bit higher, the pressure valve will release some pressure as steam, and the level will go down. Yeah. So that's not necessarily even a problem, but always get it checked.
Yeah. Anything else big time coming into the garage recently?
DJ's dad.
Yeah. Is he a mechanic as well?
He's been in. No, he worked with us at VW.
Okay.
And he's been in. So he's recently retired in the UK, but
is he going to come out here and take up a position at Powerworks?
Well, we could offer him one. I'm sure he'd say yeah. But it's always good to see him. Brings back memories of the good old days when we were all working together at VW. And I think he was shocked by the difference. You try and take things for granted. You think it's the same here as it would be anywhere. And even in the UK, from a dealership to an independent is a massive jump.
Yeah.
Whichever way you look at it, up, down, left or right, it's a big jump. Now, from there to here is also the same thing. So, yeah, that's been cool, showing him around, showing him the ropes of what we do and opening his eyes, shall we say. But yeah, it's been all hands on deck. Short hours, 6 hours a day, 8 till 2 for
Ramadan timing.
So eat this weekend and then back to normal.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Glenn, you know what? This has been, as always, an informative, educational, and yet entertaining conversation about